John Fredericks Radio Network, our Disruptor segment. It is good to have you with us today. Joining us now is Greg Musselwhite. Greg Musselwhite running for Congress in Florida's 20th district, trying to be the disruptor there. Greg, welcome to the John Fredericks Radio Network, the political disruptor segment. Great to have you, Greg.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Fredericks. It's great to be here and have an opportunity to get a message out.
Well, let me tell
Appreciate
you.
the opportunity.
Thank you. Tell us about Florida 20, the 20th district. Where is it? Who represents it? What you're up against? Give us a little bit of a flavor of that.
Well, to start off with, Florida 20 on the last Cook voter index is Democrat plus 31. So Clinton got about 80% of the vote in that district. So it's a pretty hefty row to hoe, you might say.
Where is it? Where is it? What area of Florida?
The district extends from basically West Palm Beach, just south of Lake Okeechobee, to Belglade, Pahokee area, bits and pieces through North Lauderdale down to Miramar. So it's a very large district geographically. There's been a bit of cut and piece. They've cut pieces out for District 22, 23. So it's a strangely concocted district. It's very diverse. The population runs about 38% white, about 54% black, and 24% Hispanic. So it's a very diverse area, and the primary, what you might say, the primary economy there is tourism and a little bit of agriculture in the west.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Who's the incumbent that represents it now, Greg?
The incumbent right now is Alcee Hastings. He's been in power for about 26 years.
Oh, Alcee's been there forever. So Alcee Hastings represents it. But here's why, look, people can say, well, why do we even bother to have Greg Musselwhite on the show? I mean, he can't win. It's Clinton got 80% of the vote. Here's why. Is Florida a battleground state for Trump in 2020? Yes. Is Florida going to be very close for Trump in 2020? Yes. Is there a pathway to President Trump getting reelected in 2020 without winning Florida? Probably not, okay, because it would really narrow down. He would have to win Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Nevada. So it really narrows. So you have to win Florida. Now, here's the thing. If Greg Musselwhite can put up a good campaign and a good fight and get new voters out and get people fired up down there that normally don't turn out because it's a lost cause, anybody that's voting for Musselwhite, they're also going to vote for Trump. So a strong campaign for Musselwhite in Florida's District 20, although he is a long shot of long shots, every vote that Musselwhite gets out is in 2020, November 3rd, is a vote for Trump, because they're not going to vote for him and then vote for Bernie Sanders. So this is why these races, on paper, you might say, I mean, come on, right? It's Democrat. Clinton's getting 80%. But these are very critical that you put a good race on, and you also want to get Alcee Hastings in the district campaigning and out of campaigning for other people in Florida. You want to get the vote out for Greg Musselwhite. Have I kind of summed this up for you, Greg?
You have, and here's the thing. Being an inspector, we look at numbers, and I'm a very fact-driven person. Now, out of the current registered, as of about 3 weeks ago, in Broward and Palm Beach County, that's the two counties that comprise District 20, there's only currently about 433,000 registered voters. Now, that's out of a district that has over 782,000 population. So, to get people on the rolls, get them motivated, get them out, Alcee Hastings in 2018 only received 202,000 votes. Mm-hmm. So even though it's being listed and Clinton did carry the district, I believe that there is a pathway not only to victory for President Trump, but for myself as well.
Now, what inspired you to get in this race, Greg? Because it is a long shot.
My original inspiration was the degeneration of conduct at the federal level, primarily the confirmation hearings for the Supreme Court.
For Kavanaugh.
The Kavanaugh hearings. That completely got out of hand, disrespectful, and I just felt that it was time to intercede a little bit of sanity. There should be a little bit more class and dignity in government. Growing up, I was a very big Reagan fan, and there was a certain decorum then that's nowhere now. They all think they're rock stars and privileged, and it's totally out of hand. There should be a little bit more adulting, so to speak, up there.
You yearn for the days where there were real statesmen that got elected and believed that they had a purpose in life, and that was to forward the progress of the nation, whether they agreed or disagreed with certain policies. They came together at the end. You had a lot of bipartisanship, but you always had decorum. Very seldom did you have the nonsense that goes on now, and the name calling and the social media and who's got what Twitter, and there's just no statesman now. Everything is partisan. Everything is beat the other person over the head. And look, I'm in Virginia. We had the commemoration yesterday of 400 years of a democracy, the first legislative body, the House of Burgesses, in the Western Hemisphere. And you had a House of Delegates in Virginia, an elected official, a Democrat, come up with signs during the president's speech and try to disrupt the event and make a ruckus and protest and have to be removed. And he's a member of the elected body that the president was addressing. That's the nonsense that goes on now that I think, Greg, if I'm understanding
it's totally,
is what you want to
It's totally
fix.
unacceptable, and
Right.
I think that the general public, Americans aren't stupid. They learn, they have multimedia or social media that's out there, and these things are coming to light, and it's not a pretty picture. We don't want to get into politics as usual with the mudslinging. The record stands for itself. When you've got someone that's in there for 26 years, here's the problem. You can have the best intentions in the world, but if you do any job for a number of years, complacency sets in. You kind of phone it in, so to speak. And worst cases, not only does it lead to complacency, but then you start coming toward thoughts of corruption. And that's where we are now today with such long-term serving representatives. Term limits are in order. The Founding Fathers never intended to have a political ruling elite. These people have been in power for too long. They're disconnected from day-to-day problems. Me, I work. I'm a welder and an inspector. I go to work every day, hourly wage, just like everybody else. You go to the grocery store, we have everyday problems that I think they're out of touch with those problems. So the voting record of Mr. Hastings will reflect upon itself. And a campaign of education to let the people in the district know exactly where he stands on what issues, to set that opposed to our position and bring out our support for President Trump's agenda moving forward. And let's get something done, work together. This opposing parties and diametrically opposed views, you've got to come together and compromise somewhere. Move forward, even incrementally. Wholesale changes are not necessarily needed.
Right.
They can sometimes have unintended consequences.
All right, so how do you become viable in this race? I mean, Alcee Hastings is not going to debate you. You're never going to find him there. You know, he's winning with 80% of the vote, so you can forget that.
Well,
how are you going to make this race noticeable, Greg?
Boots on the ground, knocking on doors, and we're going to start in his hometown of Miramar.
I like it.
So, you know, and we've also contacted Judeo-Christian Republican Club and several other pastors, and we're going to get together with one of the largest voting blocks, being that the Christian faith there, as well as retirees. So our focus is a lot of meet and greets. We're going to have a kickoff on Labor Day, and to celebrate, you know, workers. I'm just a regular working guy. We're going to do a fish fry, meet and greet, and it's like talk over the issues over dinner. That's where most people have their most substantive conversations, is over the dinner table. So
that's right.
That's our approach is just get out, let them get to know me.
Right.
They already know Alcee. I mean, when you've been in power for 26 years and you've only passed 7 bills into law, and 5 of those were simply to rename a government building or post office, that's not a very good track record.
Well, I tell you what, I love the fact that you're launching your campaign with an old-fashioned fish fry. That sounds really good. I wish I was there. Greg Musselwhite running for Congress, disruptor, Florida 20, West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale. Clinton got 80% of the vote there. Let's get to cut here. Delaney, cut 13. Delaney, I want to get your reaction to this, Greg. Here's John Delaney yesterday, which was like the leader of the sane people in the debate. John Delaney, cut 13, hits his far-left rivals, he says in an opening statement. They're going to get Trump reelected. So I want to hear from Delaney, and then I want to get Greg Musselwhite's take on this. Kiara, back to studio, cut 13.
Folks, we have a choice. We can go down the road that Senator Sanders and Senator Warren want to take us, with bad policies like Medicare for all, free everything, and impossible promises that'll turn off independent voters and get Trump reelected. That's what happened with McGovern. That's what happened with Mondale. That's what happened with Dukakis. Or we can nominate someone with new ideas to create universal health care for every American with choice, someone who wants to unify our country and grow the economy and create jobs everywhere. And then we win the White House. I'm the product of the American dream. I believe in it. I'm the grandson of immigrants, the son of a construction worker. My wife, April, and I have 4 amazing daughters. I was the youngest CEO in the history of the New York Stock Exchange, created thousands of jobs, and then served in Congress. That's the type of background, and my platform is about real solutions, not impossible promises, that can beat Trump and govern. Thank you.
Congressman Tim Ryan.
That was John Delaney. Greg Musselwhite, what did you think of that?
Well, I watched a little bit of the debate last night, and I actually thought he was one of the more sane candidates. He had some very good points, but the problem is he was correct that going towards socialism isn't going to work, and he is delivering it to Trump. But the second half of his argument, it would be like he's describing himself as Trump light. Trump's already did this. He's got the economy going in the right direction.
Right.
The stock market record highs.
Right.
So what difference can he didn't expound exactly what he would do different than Trump's doing now, and it sounded like he's in favor of most of the policies that President Trump has enacted.
You know, it was interesting. After he said that, I think it was Elizabeth Warren who said, why would you run for president if you don't have any bold ideas? And, it got a big applause. But it was like, if I was Delaney, I would have said, why would you run for president when you're a crackpot? Because it's basically, that was basically the argument last night. Delaney was like saying, look, I'm a liberal, I'm a progressive. I remember John when he was in Maryland. He was a pretty good congressman, but, he was certainly not a conservative, very liberal on the social issues and things of that nature, but he was a business guy. And here's the thing. When you own a business and you run and start businesses, you simply have a different perspective than when you're Elizabeth Warren, who's never run a business and got teaching jobs because saying she was partially Native American, which was a bold-faced lie. That's why we got to Pocahontas. But look, you're right. Delaney was like Trump light, so he's going nowhere. But he made the most sense, and he called out Sanders. He called out Warren. Delaney did a great job last night of then calling them all out and saying this is like nonsense. Like you can't pay for it. You're going to bankrupt hospitals. The whole thing is ridiculous. But Delaney will not show up in the next debate because he's not going to make the cut because he's out of touch. These are the things you got to ask your opponent about. Where is he on Medicaid for all? Where is he on free tuition for everybody? Where is he on spending another $200 trillion on the Green New Deal? Where is he on this stuff? You have to ask him.
He is the most liberal of the Florida delegates, as rated by several organizations, GovTrack.us. On a lot of his endorsements from advocacy groups, Planned Parenthood gave him a 100%.
Wow.
Well, we know because of his stance on abortion and voting against the Pain-Capable Unborn Children Protection Act, H.R. 36. He voted against that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you drop down to things such as economy, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce gave him a 33%. Club for Growth gave him 12%. Americas for Prosperity gave him 5%. Freedom Works, 5%. So 42% of all of his legislation is to do with foreign affairs. He's not a home guy. And as far as the economy, going back to that, he voted not once but twice against the tax cuts. So his record will speak for itself. The current hot button on everybody's agenda, immigration. He voted against Kate's Law, and he also voted against No Sanctuary for Criminals Act, H.R. 303, in 2017.
All right. I tell you what, I think you got an interesting race down there. And, Greg, I want to thank you for being with us and thank you for putting your hat in the ring. People want more information. Greg, where do they go?
They can go to musselwhiteforcongress.com, our website, or you can also contact us on Twitter and Facebook.
Musselwhiteforcongress.com, Florida 20. Got to get them registered. Got to get them out to vote for Musselwhite, Florida 20 on November 3rd, 2020. And you got to remember, every vote from Musselwhite that he can get, every person that he can register to vote for him, they're also going to vote for President Trump and hopefully put Trump over the top of Florida. Hey, Greg, thanks for being with us, man. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Have you back. We'll be keeping tabs on you.